Be still, my soul, the Lord is on thy side.
Hey, Pastor Jim here from sunny Kunsan in South Korea, pastor of the Haven Baptist Church, the greatest church in the world. Have you ever noticed that there's a symbol on the flag of Israel, and if you've been paying attention, you probably noticed that there's a bluish star with 6 points on the Israel flag. Some people call it the Star of David, others call it the Seal of Solomon. The Jews, they call it the Magan David, which is Hebrew for the Shield of David. But where does it come from? We got a question this week. Where does that star come from? Does it have pagan roots, etc., and so on and so forth? So this is the question and answer time with Pastor Jim, and it'd be a great time for you to subscribe to our channel, turn on your notifications, ring the bell, tell your friends to do the same thing. Then you can get a notification every time we post a new video, from our church. And we've got lots of things. We do sermons, we got church music, Sunday school, class lessons, just lots of stuff. And so it would be beneficial to you, or I hope it would, including this series called Questions Answered. And we even have a playlist set up for that, so you can go there and look at past questions if you want to. So send me your questions. The things that we cover are questions and ideas that we get from questions or ideas from our viewers. And they write and they say, hey, what about this, Pastor Jim? Okay, so the Star of David. It's a 6-pointed star made up of 2 equilateral triangles superimposed over each other. And it's also known as a hexagram. And a hexagram is a shape that goes back, to the beginning of shapes, I guess. The symbol's association with King David himself comes mostly from Jewish legend. Apparently, there's a legend in one of their books called a Midrash. It says that David was a teen and he fought an enemy called King Nimrod, and David had a round shield, and on his shield, according to this legend, were these 2 interlocking triangles. And so the battle became so thick and so hot or whatever that at some point the 2 triangles were actually fused together. And so, according to the legend, David won the battle, and the 2 triangles were henceforth and forevermore known as the Magan David, or the Shield of David. However, there's no historical evidence to support the battle or King Nimrod or any of that. So, chances are good that didn't really happen. Other Jewish scholars say that, yeah, there was a battle, but David's shield had the menorah. Now, I wasn't there. I'm old, but I'm not that old, so who knows? Some people say the star goes back to a ring that King Solomon had. It was a ring that apparently God gave him that could scare away demons. But again, no biblical or historical evidence for that. But the star itself actually goes much farther back than David, much farther back than Solomon. It doesn't have any real significance, religious significance in Judaism, but it's clearly one of the most. You see the thing and you think of Israel, right? It's become that identified with them. Near as I could find, it began to be used as a symbol of Jewish identity in the Middle Ages. Before that time, the symbol of the Jews was pretty much the Jewish menorah, or the candlestick, and you may have seen that. It's a 7 candlestick with a central stick. Anyway, it is not, contrary to what some people believe, a pagan symbol. It's just a hexagram. The first use of the star as a symbol for Judaism seems to be around the 11th century as a decoration in the Tanakh manuscript, the Old Testament. The Leningrad Codex had this carpet page, and it was sewn in there. But as a religious symbol, the Jews had been using it for quite some time. And in fact, they actually found it on a shield that dates back to the 3rd or 4th century. So this thing is pretty old. In 1354, King Charles IV, the King of Bohemia, created a red flag for the Jews that were living in Prague, and the star was on the flag, so it was there. There's a Jewish prayer book that goes to 1512. It displays there's a large Star of David on the cover, and there's a phrase there. It says this. It says, "He will merit to bestow a bountiful gift on anyone who grasps the shield of David." So time goes on, and by the 17th century, it's displayed on synagogues, the outside of synagogues, so everybody knows it's a Jewish place of worship. In 1897, the first Zionist Congress elected to use the star to represent the organization and the overall Jewish community. So that's when it really got its roots. When the Zionists searched for a symbol for their movement, they picked the Magen David, and that was in 1948. And then they chose the menorah in 1949. One was for their flag. The star went on their flag, and the other was their national emblem and their seal, and that's the menorah. At some point in history, the Jewish mystics, they're called Kabbalists, they put it on some amulets, and they believe that it offers some type of spiritual protection. But the fact is, the Kabbalists didn't come up with it. They just decided to use it. It was already there. And then they just kind of put their own spin on the thing, try to mystify it in some way. So the Star of David, its roots are largely associated with just being purely decorative design. And it's not exclusive to any particular ethnicity. It's just that the Jews really started using it, so it got identified with them through time. One thing's for sure, though, the star represents the thousands of years of struggle that the Jews have been through. And you only have to think back to World War II, to the Nazis, in World War II, where they identified the Jews with a yellow star. They had to wear one on their chest and one on their back. And so it really became identified with them then. More than anything else, I think that event cemented the identification of the star with the Jews more than any other event. So that now when you look at it, you think of Israel. The Israeli flag was adopted on October the 28th in 1948. Israeli leadership opted to use the star, and that was kind of a nod back to the first Zionist Congress. They said that they're going to put the star on the flag. So that's how it ended up being identified with the Jews. The symbol itself has been in use by lots of people throughout history for various reasons. Some reasons may be good, or you would consider good, and some not so good. There are those within the ranks of Orthodox Judaism. They consider the star to be an idol, and they don't like it being on their flag. In fact, they don't like flags because, there's this pagan commonality, so they don't like it. They reject it because the six-pointed design is used in other occultic religions as well. And usually they cite Amos chapter 5, verse 26, and Amos 5:26 says this: "But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch and Chiun, your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves." But these pagan deities mentioned in the verse were deities that Israel brought out of Egypt into the promised land. And God was rebuking them for sacrificing to him while at the same time hanging on to their old life idols. It didn't please God then, didn't make him happy then, and it doesn't make him happy now. One Jewish teacher said this, and I kind of like it. And he said, we don't need a flag and we don't need an emblem or a star to represent the Jewish people. We have the Torah, the law, the Old Testament law. That's what represents the Jewish people. So I was thinking about that from a Christian perspective, and I want to put it in Christian terms. What is it that represents us as the people of God? It's not icons. It's not statues. It's not jewelry. What is it? It's the Word of God. Well, that about wraps it up for this week. I hope you've enjoyed this on the Star of David. Subscribe, ring the bell, turn on notifications. And until next week, may you know the peace of God because you know the God of peace. And may you be found this week walking in the reality of God's presence. God bless you and have a great week.